And hello and welcome to Open, the show that opens the Bronx and the rest of the world right to you. I am Daren, Jaime, and today we'll update you on what's happening in and around our borough and New York City. Coming up, we'll discuss how you and your loved ones can protect yourself during this spring flooding season. Then, we're going to talk about a program that's focusing on the development of the student outside of the classroom. More details a little later on in the show. Also, we'll learn about the event that is mobilizing the efforts of the international community to promote peace, understanding, and solidarity. And finally, we'll discuss how one organization is helping prevent children from having to go to foster care and family separation. So stay tuned because all this and much more is heading your way, because now we're officially open. And hello, everyone. I am Daren, Jaime, and you're now watching Open, a live program bringing the Bronx and New York City straight to you. We also want to welcome our viewers on Manhattan Neighborhood Network, as Open is being broadcast simultaneously on MNN's channels. You can stay connected to us on all of our social media platforms at Bronxnet TV. Some things have been going on throughout the course of the past week. We'll take you through some of it with our Bronx updates. We start off with transit news. New York City transit riders could be soon facing yet another fare hike. The MTA is proposing an increase to the subway and bus fare to $2.90 by Labor Day. It's a 15-cent increase from the current $2.75 base fare and the first fare hike since 2019. Weekly and monthly Metro cards would increase by $1. Express bus riders would also see an increase, moving up to $7. Subway ridership in New York City recently rebounded to about 4 million riders a day, but that's still more than a million fewer than riders than we had pre-pandemic. And the agency is also estimating they're losing $500 million a year to fare evasion. The MTA anticipates with congestion pricing, more commuters will want to take the subway and commuter rail. Public hearings will be held in June, and the board will vote in July, causing the fare hikes to go into effect by September if approved. In community news, Phipps Neighborhood organized a job fair for the community to give them a push for a better life. Our Bronxnet reporter Nicole Rosado has more details.
We are here at the Phipps Neighborhood Job Fair in the Bronx, New York to help out our community to earn jobs. The Jewish Board, Workforce One, the NYPD Transportation Unit, and many other organizations were present at the job fair, looking for people to hire and contribute with their future.
After doing assessments in the community, this is what they've been asking us for, right? They need jobs, they want jobs, well-paying jobs, where that they can support their families. And so as soon as after the assessment, we recognize that this is what we need to do.
Not only does Phipps Neighborhood organize job fairs, but they also work with the community to set up training for people, including employers.
We can have residents interview with them on, like a singular level, but at the same time have the training that they may not have otherwise had.
LaShawn's Consulting, a business management consulting firm, was present at the job fair to assist the organization in providing jobs, guidance, and achieving their objectives.
I highly support, young people in terms of helping them be the next generation of change agents so that they can thrive in our communities and be successful and really achieve their dreams, as I have been, doing.
This is Phipps Neighborhood's second job fair, and they have already had tremendous success in assisting the community in finding employment.
But we have over 200 people attend our job fair, with a number of people getting jobs on the spot. This year, we have over 70 people enrolled for the spring job fair, and we're hoping that we're going to get people to get jobs on the spots today.
After another successful job fair, Phibbs neighborhood hopes to organize more for the community this year. Reporting for BronxNet, Nicole Rosado.
And thank you, Nicole. In other news, oxygen is important for every cellular function in your body. But sometimes your body has a hard time getting oxygen everywhere it's needed. Hyperbaric oxygen therapy gently helps push oxygen into every cell of your body, helping with the healing process and allowing the body to regenerate itself. Our BronxNet reporter, Brittany Schuyler-Albane, had the chance to visit the largest hyperbaric chamber in New York City.
For the last 30 years, New York City Health and Hospitals Jacobi Medical Center in the Bronx has had the largest hyperbaric chamber in New York City. Let's go check it out.
Forces oxygen or the breathing gas into tissues throughout the body where normally it wouldn't reach. We in the hospital give patients oxygen all the time, but inside the chamber it's different because with the pressure gradient, we can get oxygen to different places in the body.
Over the last 3 decades, the chamber has been used to treat patients with severe smoke inhalation, like those who suffered from the Twin Parks fire.
We did treat them. We do treat victims of fire, victims of carbon monoxide poisoning, scuba divers with diving injuries in the bends, gas embolisms, certain things emergently.
This hyperbaric chamber is also used to treat those who suffer from carbon monoxide poisoning caused by hookah, which is prominent in nightclubs.
Sometimes people are found down at the hookah lounge or smoke shortly after smoking hookah. And really the fastest treatment and way to reverse that and reverse it to the effects that can have long-term effects is to bring them into the hyperbaric chamber.
Jacobi also works closely with the U.S. Navy, Coast Guard, and Air Force to treat service members who were injured during a diving operation.
Any diver, we're Divers Alert Network chamber, so we are really the go-to for the tri-state area and beyond.
Other than smoke inhalation, Jacobi Medical Center treats patients with the hyperbaric chamber if they are approved by the Undersea and Medical Hyperbaric Society. Patients looking for outpatient care can also get a referral from their doctor to treat some of the following conditions.
Things like diabetic foot ulcers, non-healing problem wounds, radiation issues, failed skin grafts or flaps, and certain things.
For more information and to potentially schedule an appointment, follow the link below. Reporting for BronxNet, Brittany Schuyler-Albane.
And thank you, Brittany. That's all the time we have for our Bronx updates. We are taking a quick break, but we'll have more open when we return.
Where did the time go? Somehow I lost all those years. Where did the time go? I don't know how I got here. Oh, how did I get here?
You've done the hard part. You quit smoking. Now do the easy part and get scanned for lung cancer. If you smoked, you may still be at risk, but early detection could save your life. Talk to your doctor and learn more at savedbythescan.org.
And welcome back. With spring bringing warmer weather, it also brings flooding caused by heavy rainfall, melting snow, seasonal storms, ice jams, and rising rivers. Each year, more communities are experiencing floods due to rising rivers. And according to FEMA, the Bronx and Brooklyn are at high risk of flooding. The question is, what do we in these high-risk areas need to know in order to stay safe as well as secure? Here now sharing more information, we got the Senior Executive of the National Flood Insurance Program at FEMA, David Maurstad. And thank you, David, for being with us.
Great to be with you. Thank you.
You know, it is a challenging time. I think a lot of people right now are really on edge, and they know the possibility that a flood could exist. But with the possibility of floods existing, sometimes we find out after the fact that a person isn't adequately prepared. So what are some of the things that we should be paying attention to during what we call a flood season?
Well, there's no question that we're seeing more severe and more frequent flood events, heavy rainfall events. And so we want to make sure that going into the late spring, early summer, with the likelihood that rivers can overflow, heavy rainfall events can happen, that you have the right insurance protection in place also. Many people believe that their homeowners or their small business, their renter's policy will provide them with coverage if they have a flood. And they're going to find out after the fact, if they rely on those policies, that they won't have the coverage they need. So we really want folks to think ahead and make sure that they have a call to conversation with their flood insurance agent, flood insurance representative, and get that coverage in place.
Yeah. We talked a little bit about the Bronx, and the Bronx being a place of potentially high risk for flooding. Brooklyn potentially being a place for high risk for flooding. If somebody's out there in their own locality and they're saying, how do I know whether or not my place is a place that could potentially be a high risk area? What's the process for them in going to find that out?
Yeah. So it's as simple as where it can rain, it can flood. And so we want to make sure people understand that it doesn't take a lot of water, an inch of water can cause $25,000 damage to a property. So it doesn't take much to cause a lot of damage. So we want to make certain that people understand they shouldn't just think about whether they're in a high-risk area or a low-risk area, and that everyone needs a flood insurance policy. Call your insurance agent, your insurance company representative, have a conversation with them. There's a 30-day waiting period before a national flood insurance policy goes into effect, and so don't procrastinate. We want renters to make sure that they have the coverage they need also. So this is the time of year to start making sure that you're ready.
Yeah. And David, we hear a lot of people say from time to time, I've got homeowners insurance, but there is a difference between homeowners insurance and having flood insurance. Break that down for us, because so many people get confused between the two, and you got to have both.
Yeah, it is one of the things that people misunderstand about their insurance protection. Generally, flood is excluded on your home policy, your renter's policy, your small business owner's policy. And that's why it's so important to have a national flood insurance policy in place to cover your dwelling, cover your contents, so that you have the peace of mind that comes with knowing that that flood damages your property. You're going to have the financial resources to repair or rebuild and recover from that event.
Now, if a person doesn't have a mortgage, do they still have the opportunity to be able to purchase flood insurance?
If you live in one of the 22,500 communities that participate in the National Flood Insurance Program, regardless of where your property is located, regardless of where you're living in that community, you have the ability to get a national flood insurance policy. Whether you have a mortgage or you don't have a mortgage, you can get a national flood insurance policy. So everyone in a participating community is eligible to have a national flood insurance policy.
I guess the best question that somebody wants to know is, how do I go about the premier ways of taking care of my property, my belongings, to guard against the potential of a flood? Because we know once it happens, as you said, an inch of water, $25,000 worth of damage. So what do I do as a precautionary measure to try to protect my belongings the best way I possibly can?
Well, I'd suggest the first step is to visit FEMA's website, ready.gov. That will help you develop a plan to prepare for an emergency and natural disaster. When it comes to flood, it's important to have your valuables, your important papers in a flood-safe container. It's important to have food, water, your medication, so that you can, if you have to leave your home, your apartment, that you have what you need to take care of yourself for 72 hours. Have some cash. Sometimes the ATM machines won't necessarily work. And so have a plan, take the necessary steps. Part of that plan is to make sure you have the insurance protection you need.
Yeah. David, give us a little bit of insight into our area. You know, we've had some tough times, and how have floods treated our area?
Well, there's obviously a lot of water throughout and around the New York City area, the Bronx area. And so you don't have to be right next to the river to have be at flood risk, where those rivers can overflow, or even a heavy rainfall event we've seen causes a tremendous amount of damage in urban areas. And so it's just very important to understand that these events, because of the climate crisis, are happening more often. They're more severe, that we have to take necessary steps to protect the lives we've built.
You know, I looked at one interesting statistic, and I'll get your comment on this one. Over 40% of all flood insurance claims come from people who live outside of high-risk zones.
Yeah, that goes back to that simple: where it can rain, it can flood. Unfortunately, over time, we've kind of built this perception that the only people that are at flood risk are those that are in the high-risk area, that are required to have flood insurance. And that's not the case. And we see more and more flood events happening in low to moderate risk areas where it maybe hasn't flooded before. And so that's why we got to just look at it the way it is today, understand the circumstances today, and then take the necessary steps to make sure we have the insurance protection that we need when we need it.
Yeah. David, we got to get ready to go. But before we go, let me get my viewers as much information as possible. Where do they go? Where do they get the information needed for flood insurance?
Well, you can get a whole lot of information about flood risk and flood insurance at our website, floodsmart.gov. And really encourage people to visit that site and also touch base with their insurance agent or insurance company representative.
David, thanks a lot for taking the time with us. Some much needed information. As we said, sometimes you live outside of that high risk area, but a little more than an inch can make a whole lot of difference for your household. So thanks a lot, and we appreciate having you.
Thank you very much.
All righty, David Maurstad, who's Senior Executive of the National Flood Insurance Program at FEMA, thanking you for taking the time and being here with us. Now, for more information, as David said, you can visit the website at floodsmart.gov/rivers, and then follow them on social media at FEMA. We encourage you to don't go anywhere. We've got more Open coming up right after this.
Most hiring algorithms would scream me out.
Some bosses couldn't see me as a leader.
I've run this place for 20 years, but I still need to prove that I'm more than what you see on paper.
I've been running code as long as I've been able to reach a keyboard.
This is what I do. It's second nature for me, coordinating 100 details at once.
It's the way my mind works. I have a very mechanical brain.
I sold them on my skills.
You gotta be so good they can't ignore you.
My magic is
analytics and empathy. That's how getting clients. You have to have the confidence in yourself to show up and defy the odds.
I'm more than who I am on paper.
I never got a college degree. And today, I'm the CEO of my own company. People want to tell me I'm one in a million, when actually I'm one of millions. Stars are all around us. It's time for them to shine.
And welcome back. DEB's Learning Academy is an after-school program that's providing educational empowerment and character development to marginalized yet academically motivated youth. Now, the program focuses on the total development of the student outside of the classroom. And coming up on Wednesday, July the 5th, the school is collaborating with Fate for Youth, which is their annual summer institute. And joining us now, we are telling us more, is Deb's Learning Academy's director, Dahalia Beccan. And thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you very much for having me.
And you got to be pretty excited for the fact that really when it comes to helping students get to that next level, you're an academy that's really doing that and helping them to achieve greater.
Definitely. So our focus has always been on math and reading. And so we want to prevent that dreaded summer slide. And so we have that awesome summer camp where it's a good mix of academic support and enrichment. activities.
And when we talk about academics, math, of course, is one of those things that you got to stay on. And when we talk about the summertime, obviously everybody wants to go on vacation, but we do know those math skills can actually deteriorate sometimes if we're not really paying particular attention. I know you're trying to combat that. So talk to us a little bit about the importance of really retaining in a time like that.
Definitely. In the Bronx here, one of the biggest issues that we have in the classroom is that our scholars are they struggle with reading. And so by extension, they struggle with reading, they struggle with math. So what we try to do over the summer is we try to engage them in fun activities that allows them to read on a continuous basis without even realizing that they're reading. They're doing math projects, they're doing spelling competitions, they're doing debate. All of that encapsulates reading and doing the math. And so by the end of the summer, they would have retained everything that they have learned the previous year. And in the last 2 weeks of the camp, we kind of introduce them to the upcoming curriculum. So they get a jump start. So when they get to school in September, they are prepared and ready to go.
So a lot of kids have when it comes to summer school, it's not their thing. They hate it. They don't really feel that. But for you, it's an opportunity to give school in a different kind of way.
Oh, it is. We intertwine it with enrichment activities. And so they're doing robotics. They're playing piano. They're learning to play the piano. They're learning to write the notes. We have knitting, basketball, and everything that we do is in a learning way. So they're learning to play basketball. They're learning the mechanics. They're doing robotics. They have to do their research. And then they come and the teacher helps them to put the robot together. So everything is done in a fun way. The spelling competitions are competitive. We have a math sprint. So every day they have to do 60 questions in 60 seconds. So at the end of the week, it's the race to be able to complete those 60 questions in 60 seconds at the end of the week for the prize. So it's very competitive, and it gives them that drive that makes them want to do it, because we have some awesome prizes at the end of each week. We also take them on trips. So everything that they do in the classroom, then we take them out and they experience it. So this year, our theme is wind energy. So this year, they're going to be building the windmill in the classroom, and then we're taking them to the wind farm upstate. So they'll get a great opportunity to see the windmill in action, transferring energy from wind to electricity.
Amazing. Now, I know the other component that you really focus on is also mentorship, right? And I think that it's important for every student in some way, shape, or form to have that as a part of their, educational journey. You guys are looking to really provide that for them. Talk to us about your mentorship program.
So our mentorship program, we focus on, by extension really, we have more boys than girls in our camp, right? And so we put them in small groups. We have them meet with community members. Councilman Riley is a big part of our program. And so he comes in and he has conversations with our scholars. We pair them with people in our community who are high standing, who are good role models for these scholars, not just spiritually, emotionally, but also career-wise. So we have conversations with them. We determine where they want to go, and then we pair them with individuals who are able to help guide them along those paths.
Yeah. A kid in school sometimes doesn't, well, I'll go back to this from another perspective. Back in the day, attendance wasn't really a big issue with young people. They went to school. Now we know attendance and retention are really some of the biggest challenges that you as an educator face. Talk to me about how you guys are looking at approaching that, because we know that a lot of students right now struggle in the area of attendance because it's a whole different set of life issues, right?
And one of the things that we have found out is that scholars don't attend school because they are struggling, right? If you're not comfortable, if you can't read and you're not comfortable in the classroom and you struggle, then the impetus to be there has been reduced. And so they would rather be somewhere where they're comfortable, right? We always try to move away from our struggles, right? So school becomes a struggle so they move away from it. So what we do is we try to make reading fun. So we start with right where they are. Most times they are 2, 3 reading levels below. We start them there. And so we help them to develop that love for reading, that love for doing schoolwork, so that they, over time, begin to enjoy it, and then they see the results, because that's the key. If you're doing something and you're not seeing the results, you become more frustrated. And the more frustrated you are, is the less likely you are to do it. So our job is to remove those elements of frustration. So they begin to enjoy reading, and then in reading, they realize, oh, but I can do math, because now I'm able to read the question, I'm able to understand the question, I'm able to break it down and complete it. So it makes it so much easier. And in doing that, they begin to enjoy learning. So the idea of enjoying learning, they want to go to school. They see the results of going to school, positive results, so they go.
Right. Are you finding a hard time post-COVID, or some people won't call it post-COVID, I like to say after the COVID break, I should say. Are you finding a hard time as an educator looking at your students and saying, we got a lot of ground to make up?
Well, we had a lot of ground to make up before COVID. So now COVID came and may still be around. It is even harder. And we found that we have scholars who did amazingly well during the COVID with using electronics, right? So, if you're not a big writer, right, then using a computer helped them in that way. Our scholars really are struggling because they missed out a lot, and it's more so for our younger scholars than our older scholars. So take, for example, a scholar who should have been in kindergarten, missed kindergarten and first grade during COVID. Those were the foundational years of learning to recognize letters, phonetic sounding, and so now they are in grade 2 with no foundation of phonetic sounding, no reading skills, no math skills, so much harder. And the system still expects them to operate at grade 2 level. So it's much harder for the educators to fill those gaps while teaching in the current year. And so we implore, this is where our parent engagement program comes into play, where we meet with our parents, we give them the kind of skills that they need to help their scholars through this process. Because again, for parents, it can become frustrating. And so we provide those skills that allow parents to be able to help their scholars with homework. This is where our after-school program comes into play, right? We provide academic support in our after-school program that allows our scholars to come in after school in a safe environment and really build on those skills that they missed out in those crucial foundational years.
Before we leave, you have an opportunity to tell people where your school is located.
So our after-school program operates out of the Wakefield Library currently, and our summer camp this year will be at Evander Childs High School, right, where we have tons of activities. The academic support is there, so we're inviting parents to register early, because last year we had a long waiting list. So register early, start making your payments in small increments, so that by the time we get to summer camp, your payments would have been completed and you'd have been rest easy, and your scholar would have an amazing time this summer.
We want to thank you so much for joining us, Dahalia.
Thank you very much for having us.
All righty, Dahalia Beccan, who's also the director of DEB's Learning Program. We want to let you know, for more information, visit the website at debslearnacademy.com. And guess what? Don't go anywhere. We got more show coming up right after this.
I don't know why you're so sad. You've got a roof over your head.
Bro, you gotta stop with that depression stuff. That's a white people thing.
Escúchame, en esta casa los hombres no lloran. You all right?
It just feels like it's coming from everywhere.
Do you want to talk about it?
Thanks for hearing me out, bro. Appreciate it.
You can talk to me if you're feeling sad. Whenever you need to talk, I'm here, okay?
And we are back. The interfaith community came together to advocate for peace, unity, and reconciliation in New York City in the hopes of mobilizing the efforts of an international community to promote peace, tolerance, inclusion, understanding, as well as solidarity. Sharing now with us, we've got here in studio information will be gathered and shared by the founder of the Mount Sinai Worship Center, Bishop Lubin Moise, as senior and also Secretary General at the World Christian Leadership Conference, Reverend Bruce Grodner. And thank you so much for joining us and getting together in a time like this. And gentlemen, I will say that, I'll start with you first, Reverend Grodner. Peace is something that we want to see, of course, in New York City, but you're not only just dealing with the area of peace, but you're also dealing with it from an international perspective, really gathering some faith leaders together. Talk to me a little bit about what was the background of saying, we need to do this?
Well, for me, the background was this gentleman right here. I've been involved with this kind of work for a while, bringing clergy together, bringing religious leaders together. But meeting Bishop Moise and just what his work in Haiti, and at a time when nobody was going to Haiti, he went to Haiti, and he did something that was miraculous there. So I was inspired by this vision, and to really bring the faith community together, because I think they have a very strong voice, very important voice, and yet we're very divided with our denominations, our churches or mosques or whatever, and somehow there's a string that ties us all together, and we haven't really grabbed that string or that rope to pull us forward, and we need to do it.
Bishop Moise, talk to me about Haiti, because Haiti is very near and dear to you. You did a lot of work out there. Share with us just a little bit about the work going on that you've done in Haiti.
Well, I've done a lot in Haiti. Started working in Haiti since 2005, and there was a big earthquake, hurricane in 2004. And that's when our ministry began there. From there, we did a lot of works there. We do the trainings, workshops and seminars, life improvement, drug education programs, and we did also build a church there from the scratch in Haiti, in the Port-au-Prince, Haiti. We do the feeding, we do the orphanage, we do after school program, school supply, and then now that we have another big project that we are doing in Haiti, where we want to build houses, clinic, and school for the women and children that were affected by the 2021 earthquake in the south. So we were blessed to have the mayor of Lakai donate to us 3 acres of land for the project.
Yeah, but also this march we're having in the work of doing peace right now is also based on a peace march that you actually had down in Haiti in 2022.
Yes, I was commissioned by God, who said it, in a good while to do this work. Finally, that I decided to take the initiative because Haiti was going through so much. The country was in lockdown for there were 2 months. There's a lot of problems going down there. Everything was in lockdown. Everything was a block. So the Lord has led me to go back to Haiti to promote peace, unity, and reconciliations. But before I went to Haiti, I did make a video, and I sent a video, make some propositions, tell them what we need to do in order to change Haiti. The Haitian must take initiative, must take a stand to save their country. And I told them that I'm coming in the form of John the Baptist, but there will be the Savior, there will be the Jesus. So I went down there, and very terrible, horrible condition, kidnappings and killings and crimes. And so I went to gather with people down there with different sectors, different organizations, different religious groups, and I pull everybody together and I tell them this, hey, let's work together. Let's come together in unity. Let's have dialogues. Let's have peace with each other. And then that we, on the December 25th, which is Sunday, and led a peace march down there that was very successful. At the time, there was a lot of kidnapping where people were scared to go out, but people did came to the march. And amazingly, where we had the police around with us, and we had, but there was nothing happened. And the people standing in their porch, waving us and tell us thank you. There was nothing happen, and then we walked to the palace. There, I delivered the message to the people in Haiti, and practically everything that I was proposed, everything that we said, it's happening. It's continue to happen.
Right.
Matter of fact, as we speak, I just got a message. There's a political party that's going to have a march, a peace march, in the coming week, and so. It's good things happen.
So you go from the walk to the palace to the walk to the UN, and so talk to me a little bit about that, Reverend Grodner, that you're able to assemble clergy and community to be able to come together. How tough a task was it to get the faith community to come together?
It's always a challenge. Coming together, whether it's politically or even religiously, bringing people together, but people came together. I think everybody wants something that looks like what their conscience is guiding them to, and the conversations and what took place and what will take place in the future has to be one of healing and reconciliation. And we've heard each other, we've done things, and people know that we can't live in this kind of state of consciousness or mind.
Right. How do you move from a place of, because everybody always says we need to have conversation, we need to have dialogue, we need to come together, but then you have to really put some tangible action items. How do you move from conversation to action?
At this point that we, because we have the conversation and people that we spoke with, they embrace the idea. And they say, yes, we need this. That's what we need. Matter of fact, we have one of the lady, she said she's been waiting for 30 years to have something to be part of, something positive, such as bringing people together, bringing nation together. So as people embracing that, well, now we need to make an action. And the action, and since we met with them 1 or 2 or 3, now we're going to meet with them in group, that we can really make the action and share with them what we are about, what we'll do, and the effect that we'll do. How that will change their life. So that's what we did. And people just came in numbers, different religions, different organizations, different groups, different sector we met. They just came together, happily say, yes, this is time for a change.
And you talk about that common denominator. The common denominator is peace, of course, and reconciliation.
Sure.
When you look at where we are today, what would you say is some good news or advice that you would give to help to promote peace in some communities where we haven't seen peace in a while?
Yeah, I think peace starts with me. And I think everybody wants to be happy. And I think, holding grudges or holding, these things, the brokenness of humanity, each of us have our issues. Each of us have some pain, and we have to process that pain, and I think everybody, it's kind of like we're moving in that direction. The other things don't work, just holding people accountable for their actions. I think I have my own actions. I have things that I've done, and I have to be responsible for my own actions. I think, we're talking about race or different things that are going on. I remember I was asked to give a talk, and this changed, I think, my life a little bit. I was asked to speak on Martin Luther King Jr. at the khaki big event, Marty Markowitz was the borough president. There were 2 white people on the stage and 8, mostly Caribbean Americans, president, prime ministers. And I prepared something about Martin Luther King Jr. to present. And, they were calling each person up, and we were coming to the end, and there's only me left, and that was it. And I said, because I had, what can I say about Martin Luther King from my experience? Very little. So I said, there's a God in heaven, that I didn't have to give a talk. Because it was the real deal. These are people that have experienced these things.
Right.
And the process, and the pain, and the power, and the healing. But then I was asked to pray. And I repented for the failure. Of whites, of our situation, of the insensitivity or whatever, level playing field. And then one man came up to me. He said, I've been here for 26 years, and my life is not going to be the same going forward. I said, what do you mean? He said, I've been waiting to hear those words for 26 years. Repentance, sorry. Wow. And I think somebody has to say sorry.
Yeah.
Somebody has to say sorry.
Bishop Moise, we got to get ready to go, but I got to ask the question. You're still on the battlefield, and you got some reduced eyesight, and but yet you still have vision.
Yes, I still have vision, and I'm happy.
As you go forward, tell me, where do people get in touch with you guys?
Okay, they can go to our website, which is NewYorkPeaceMarch.com. That they will find all the informations there. They can sign for the petition where we're there, and they can also follow us on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and also we encourage everybody to come out support us, support this cause, because we want to continue this. This is a movement. We want to touch the hearts. We want to have dialogue, because I believe that if you can have a dialogue with a good tone of voice, with understanding, you can bring change, and that can bring peace. And that peace, that now we could, as Governor Bush said, that yes, we all have something, some fault somewhere, but the point is that we want to bring healing. As we bring the reconciliation, the hurt, and the pain, so we can be sorry, we can accept it, then we can move forward. Of course, if we move forward with a peace, unity, and reconciliation, that there will be health. People will be healthy. Not only they be healthy, but they also they be wealthy, because that will rise the economy. Right. The people to working on the job, they'll be able to do the good job, because they won't be sick. So it's a very good movement that we want to get this to the nation, to the world, and we want to go wherever the Lord is leading us to bring peace, unity, and reconciliation, because I believe this is a time. It's a time for change.
Well, Bishop Moise, thank you so much for being with us. Reverend Grodner, thank you so much for being with us. They've gone from the palace in Haiti to the seat of the United Nations, where they've gathered together to bring faith voices, to bring peace, unity, and reconciliation. Now, if you want more information, visit the website at nypeacemarch.com and then MountSinaiWTC.com. We encourage you to don't go anywhere. We'll be back with more Open right after this.
Even though we didn't grow up together, he's my favorite brother.
Hey, sis.
I'm the baby of the family, and he's the gentle giant.
What you know about Port Georgia?
Man, please, that's a classic.
You know when they say people are a rare breed? Yeah, he's that.
I'm sorry, I'll be back in a few hours.
Don't worry, Shug, you know I'm for you.
I know.
Go get the football.
That was my favorite memory. He was always for you. This is a true story of me, Bridget Floyd, and this guy, George Perry Floyd Jr., my big brother.
And welcome back. The Children's Village is a not-for-profit organization They're specializing in working with vulnerable children and families in New York through a variety of innovative residential and community-based programs. Now, the organization has found a path forward by advocating for change in the foster care system while shifting its focus internally. Joining me now and sharing more is the Director of Evidence-Based Services at the Children's Village, Tina Schleicher-Iannotti, and we thank you so much for joining us, Tina.
Thank you.
Tell us a little bit about foster care, because as we know, this is Foster Care Month, and Children's Village is definitely taken a front step for a long time in the area of foster care. But for you, just share a little bit about the agency and foster care.
Okay, so we do a number of things at Children's Village, and one of the areas of focus is, of course, foster care. And in recent times, we have also increased our programming, in the world of preventive as well as aftercare services, with the idea being that, foster care is a resort when there isn't, an immediate and other alternative to kind of keep children and families safe. And the shift to preventive work is really helping us connect with families, much earlier, in their area of needs, be able to get services to them and ultimately prevent kids from going into care, whether that be foster care through family care or foster care through residential placement. The idea is we really want that to be an area of last resort, and we also want it to be temporary. So a lot of the work that we're doing now is really focused on, finding the families that need that support so we can keep these kids out of care and back home safe with their families.
And you made that as almost a priority to say, listen, I want to make sure that we're doing something in terms of preventing children from being separated. Talk to us about what really was some of the impetus in that to say, we want to prevent separation, and we also want to be able to deal with this issue of not allowing children to hit foster care.
Yeah, absolutely. And as you know, children of color are disproportionately placed in the system. And we really needed to look at sort of the practices that are helping providers connect with families and really be understanding, culturally respectful, and identifying how to leverage their strengths instead of just focusing on problems or vulnerabilities. This is about looking at how do we build someone up and really appreciate, who they are as a parent and as a caregiver, and just, supporting the structure of that, family's, natural unit. I think one of the reasons we shift to this focus is because we know that, separation is trauma. Kids in foster care often do not have the same outcomes as kids that are able to avoid foster care placements. We know that their education suffers. We know that there's, difficulties that are just, challenging based on that separation, the instability, the multitude of factors that go into all kinds of, changes, that can really be traumatic, but for both the children as well as the caregivers. And so again, if this can happen, this is what we're looking to do. The one thing we really know is that service providers should be temporary.
Right.
Like, we are not here to replace families. And while there are wonderful organizations like Children's Village that do have residential and foster care support, we know that we should be temporary. Like, we shouldn't be replacing. We should provide that structure and support while it's needed, but with the intention of getting a reunification as quickly as possible and never keeping a child in care any longer than absolutely necessary.
But talk to me about in-home family therapy, because that type of counseling, that type of therapy has proven to be effective. Share with me a little bit about the work that you're doing there, and are you noticing more impact in that area?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, our program has expanded, considerably over the last few years, and we focus on evidence-based services, which our primary models of treatment are multisystemic family therapy as well as functional family therapy. And this really is kind of like the cutting edge tools. This is like the highest end technology when it comes to providing family treatment, with the idea that we can build on a base of traditional family therapy, branch that out into looking at the community and the other systems that are connected to families, and then incorporating strategically elements of CBT, DBT, and motivational enhancement strategies, which we're kind of taking the best pieces and kind of organizing them to meet the family's, needs, in their home and working kind of around their world. One thing that can happen in treatment is that, it's hard to get to, it's hard to access. It takes a lot of time and a lot of energy. And the way our programs work is that we bring the service to the family. We do this in their home, in their natural environment, anywhere in the community or throughout their extended family ecology, wherever it kind of makes sense to partner and collaborate with them, as well as the people who are important to them. So it's not just about that parent or that child. It's going to be looking at how they live and organize their life, and how do we bring in that supportive network to make sure that once we start stepping away, that the family is feeling supported, that they're feeling connected, and there really isn't any barrier to accessing the services. We don't want educational plans to be disrupted because of appointments. We don't want employment to be disrupted because of appointments. We don't want necessary bonding family activities to be disrupted because of appointments. And so it's really important that we kind of work in tandem with the family and how they're kind of living their life day to day to make sure they get what they need without having to sacrifice something else that's equally important.
Talk to me a little bit about poverty, because that's a huge thing that a lot of families that you're dealing with and you service are dealing with. Poverty, and then you also have neglect, and I understand that there's a correlation between both poverty and neglect when it comes to this issue of foster care.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think, parents are often put in a very challenging position to be like, do I spend time at home with my child, with my family, and following up on all the, needs that a child has? Or do I have the ability to, to work or to, find supportive systems and resources and try to provide for them? I mean, these things are often competing needs, and this is why, it really does kind of take a village. We know the impacts of poverty, and people have to have creative solutions around just being able to kind of sustain day-to-day living. And so we also want to make sure that we're connecting our families to those resources in the community, that we are looking at how the whole family ecology and support network can really pair, partner, and work in tandem together. And sometimes it means creative solutions related to, sharing childcare or being able to even cohabitate and reorganize, the family structure. More and more, we are working and supporting families who have multi-generational homes because it's part of what makes the system work. And while there may be, kind of challenges with that, at the same time, it's the best way to help them kind of self-sustain and figure out what their pathway is to move forward. We've had families that, they struggled because, they're trying to hold down 2 jobs. And maybe part of the solution isn't sending them to parenting class. I mean, the solution is thinking about, how do I help this family find and right-size their employment needs, their education needs, their training needs, and actually be able to find maybe, a better single job versus just adding a 3rd job, into the works. And what will it take to get them from point A to point B, so that way they can work in a more self-sustaining kind of way.
Yeah. Tell me, what have you been seeing in regards to foster care in New York? Have you seen marketable improvement in the way the process has gone? Can you tout that there's possibly some progress here?
Yeah, absolutely. I would say one of the things we've noticed is just a more collaborative approach in general, as well as access to, just more appropriate resources that are treatment focused and not just case management services. I think historically, what I would say like back in the day, it would not be unusual for, systems to try to focus on quantity over quality. It's kind of like they would identify every possible need and just try to kind of like throw more at it. Like, do this appointment, do this service, take this. And, what we find is that's overwhelming for families. And when you're bringing in more evidence-based treatments and you're making them accessible to families that are in the foster care system to support that reunification, it's more like having that one-stop shopping center. The treatment's going to mold to the family instead of the family having to conform to the treatment. And I think that's one of the ways that, we're seeing better outcomes, we're seeing stronger outcomes, we're seeing more kids in prevention and less kids going from prevention into foster care. And so I think those are the things that are, just kind of really helpful, because more is not always better,
Right. And so, as you look to the future, what's your take on the future in terms of how things are going to be working out with foster care system? Obviously, as you said, you want to see hopefully less kids finding themselves into the foster care system. Talk to us a little bit about the future plans.
I think the future is looking bright. We're, making relationships and preventive, so that way even reunification and aftercare services can be provided. And, this helps, kids and families get reunited more quickly. We look at the work that has been done, to support them if there has been an outplacement, and then we can start a reunification plan sometimes 8 weeks before a youth might actually, return to the care. So we can work simultaneously in tandem, with both the parents as well as the youth, to kind of look at how things may be different, what this treatment's going to be like, and kind of bring people together in a very planful way. I mean, oftentimes, kids can go from placement or care into the home, and it's kind of like that shock to the system where they're back and they're trying to start, all over again. And I think having that transition plan that's really mindful and kind of takes its time with the integration, then, we're going to see people more prepared, families that are ready to have their kids home. And I know that it can be scary. Sometimes kids have extremely challenging behaviors that have led to outplacement. We work with families that, have struggled to manage things like substance abuse, sex trafficking, violence, aggression, gang involvement. Some of these higher end behaviors that are even frightening for parents, and being able to take a step-by-step process and sort of ready themselves to receive the child, to have their behavior plans, to have their safety plans, to have the things that they need to help them be confident and be empowered and say, we can do this together and move forward. That's what we're looking to do. And I think, just having access to these services is something that's going to, support kids being in care a shorter amount of time, get home sooner, and for families to be more ready for them. And I think all of that can only give us positive outcomes.
Tina Schleicher-Iannotti, thank you so much for being with us. And certainly she's the Director of Evidence-Based Services at the Children's Village. Thank you so much for sharing.
All right. Thank you so much.
All righty. Now, for more information, we encourage you, visit the website at childrensvillage.org. Well, we come to the end of our show today. I want to thank all of our guests for joining us and you, the viewer, for tuning in. Now, if you missed any part of today's show, you can catch a recablecast on Optimum's Channel 67, Verizon Files Channel 2133, or watch us anytime on the web at bronxnet.org. You, of course, can catch a brand new episode of Open with my girl, Rita Valentine, coming up on Friday. And that about wraps up this episode of Open. I'm Daren Jaime, telling you, make sure to keep this channel wide open, saying take care, God bless. We'll see you real soon.